What if I told you that for a woman, sex isn't just about desire, but about identity, memory, and meaning? What if the way she engages with her sexuality is the exact mirror of her emotional wounds, inner beliefs, and hidden power? Carl Jung understood this before most modern psychologists could even speak it. He revealed that sex is the key to everything, not because of what it does to the body, but because of what it awakens in the psyche. Elena was 34, a quiet professional, smart, composed, accomplished. But every time she entered a relationship, she felt split in two, the one who craved closeness and the one who feared losing herself. Her partners often described her as either intensely passionate or emotionally detached. There was no middle. One day, during therapy, she confessed something strange. Every time she had sex with someone she loved, she'd cry afterward, not out of sadness, but out of confusion. It felt like something sacred was being stirred. Something too big for words. As they explored further, they realized she was carrying unresolved shame and self-worth wounds from her teen years, when she was shamed for being too flirtatious. Sex had become both a portal and a battleground for love, for guilt, for visibility. Her story isn't rare. It is the inner life of thousands of women, hidden beneath polished smiles and confident bodies. And as Jung taught, what remains unconscious will control us until we make it conscious. For many women, sex is never just physical. It is deeply emotional, symbolic, and layered with memory. Even when it's pleasurable or desired, it often brings up old stories, unmet needs, and unspoken wounds. And when it doesn't feel good, when it triggers anxiety, shutdown, or confusion, it doesn't mean something is broken. It often means something inside is speaking. Sex becomes a mirror not of performance or technique, but of the unconscious beliefs a woman holds about herself. If she was taught that love must be earned, she might give her body hoping to be chosen. If she was told her worth is tied to purity, she may dissociate in moments of intimacy, unsure if she's allowed to feel pleasure. If she learned as a child that emotional needs are a burden, sex may become the only place she feels permitted to ask for closeness, until even that feels like too much. In these ways, sex doesn't simply reflect desire. It reveals what lies beneath, the unfinished stories of how she was touched, ignored, loved, or violated emotionally and physically throughout her life. This is why some women cry after sex without knowing why. Why others feel empty or ashamed even when the experience was consensual, and why some simply stop desiring altogether, not because they've lost their libido, but because their psyche no longer feels safe. Safety is not about the room or the partner or the lighting. It's about the nervous system remembering, here I am not judged. Here I do not have to disappear. Here I am not only wanted, I am witnessed. One of the most powerful insights in psychology reminds us the body keeps the score. Our muscles, our breath, our skin, our responses, they all carry history. Sex becomes a place where that history can awaken, sometimes violently, sometimes tenderly. It's not always about healing. Sometimes it's just about understanding why you freeze, why you chase, why you feel too much or nothing at all. To approach female sexuality through the Jungian lens means to listen to what is beneath the act, to see every response not as dysfunction, but as information. It means asking, what part of me is still afraid? What am I trying to prove with this intimacy? What old wound might be asking to be seen, not judged? When we understand sex this way, it becomes less about performance and more about integration. Woman doesn't need to be fixed. She needs space to remember that every part of her experience is valid. And through this gentle awareness, the unconscious becomes conscious, not in shame, but in truth. Because in that mirror, she doesn't just see her body. She sees her story. And finally, she begins to reclaim it. There's something that happens when a girl grows up being told her body is dangerous. Maybe it's not said directly, but it's in the glances, the warnings, the way people change their tone when she starts to develop. It's in the discomfort adults carry when a child's innocence starts to shift into womanhood. Slowly, subtly, she learns. This part of me makes others uncomfortable. This part of me must be managed, hidden, or softened. That's how the repression starts. In Jungian terms. This becomes part of what's called the shadow, not evil, not wrong, but simply the parts of us we've been taught not to show. For many women, sexuality is the first part of the self that gets exiled. And once it's exiled, it doesn't disappear, it just goes underground, shaping behaviors in secret ways. A woman may become extremely accommodating, avoiding any confrontation, because deep down she feels her needs are too much. Another may use seduction as a form of control, not out of manipulation, but because it's the only way she learned to feel powerful. Or she might completely numb out sexually, going through the motions in relationships, telling herself she just isn't a sexual person anymore. These are not failures. These are survival patterns. When a woman is disconnected from her erotic energy, it's often because somewhere along the way, she was taught to fear it, not because of what it would do to her, but because of how others might react. Her body became something to manage, not something to live in fully. Over time, that repression hardens into shame, and shame is tricky. It doesn't announce itself with words. It shows up in body language, in avoidance, in overthinking. It whispers things like, "Why did I say that? I don't want to come across the wrong way. Maybe I should just pretend I'm fine." And behind all of that is the unspoken belief. If they really saw this part of me, they wouldn't stay. But here's the deeper truth. The feminine shadow is not dangerous. It's sacred. It holds all the energy that was too big, too loud, too emotional, too sensual to be accepted in early life. And now it waits not to explode, but to be welcomed back. When a woman begins to explore her shadow gently, with curiosity instead of judgment, something shifts. She starts to realize that her desire is not a threat. It's a compass. That her sensuality is not a liability. It's a form of intelligence. That her boundaries aren't walls. They're invitations to deeper safety. Reconnecting with the shadow doesn't mean becoming someone else. It means reclaiming the parts of yourself you had to hide to belong. So if you feel conflicted, confused, or even scared about your own sexuality, that's okay. That's not a flaw. That's a sign of your depth. You're not broken. You're remembering. And as you bring those shadow parts into the light, you won't lose control. You'll finally feel whole. When a woman finds herself emotionally withdrawing from her partner, fantasizing about someone else, or even stepping outside the relationship entirely, the shame can be overwhelming. But beneath the surface of what many label cheating is often a deeper story, a search for something lost long before the relationship began. That longing might be for recognition, for emotional freedom, for aliveness, for the version of herself she hasn't touched in years. Carl Jung believed that until we unite the fragmented parts within us, the masculine and feminine, the giver and receiver, the soft and the strong, we will search for that balance outside ourselves. Cheating, emotional detachment, or craving someone unavailable can be signs that we're trying to retrieve something we've disowned inside. So how do we begin to untangle this with grace? How do we stop punishing ourselves and start listening to what the behavior is pointing toward? Here are 3 trauma-informed practices to help regain power and clarity. Ask, what am I really needing beyond the person? Instead of focusing solely on the attraction or escape, turn inward and ask, what need was I trying to meet? Was it freedom? Was it to feel desired? Was it emotional validation? Often, It's not the other person we're addicted to. It's the feeling of being seen in a way we've denied ourselves. Once you name the core need, you can begin creating space for it in your own life through expression, support, or conscious intimacy with someone safe. Rebuild safety with your own emotions first. How many women disconnect during intimacy? Not because they don't care, but because somewhere along the way, they learned to shut down when feelings got big. The body remembers this, and love starts to feel unsafe. Rebuilding emotional safety isn't about forcing openness. It's about slowing down, noticing, and not judging. Take a moment each day to check in with your body. Ask yourself, do I feel tension, tightness, numbness? Place a hand on that part of your body and simply breathe. That's how you begin showing up for the younger, hidden parts of you that were once ignored. Practice inner union through small self-honoring choices. The inner marriage Jung spoke of isn't an abstract concept. It's built through daily self-honoring choices. It's saying no when you want to. It's dressing in a way that feels like you, not what others expect. It's speaking your desire out loud without apology. Each small choice to honor your truth, especially around your body, your boundaries, and your pleasure, brings your inner masculine structure, protection, and feminine expression, feeling, into harmony. This doesn't mean perfection. It means returning, over and over, to your center, because you are not defined by one mistake, one pattern, or one broken connection. You are not here to betray yourself for love or to use love to fix what hasn't yet been met inside. You are here to reclaim yourself piece by piece, breath by breath. And when you do, love stops being a place of confusion and starts becoming a space of clarity, courage, and choice. You're not lost. You're on your way back home to you.